Inside Pennsylvania Boroughs is paid for by the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs and does not necessarily reflect the views of PCN or its employees.
Hello, and welcome to Inside Pennsylvania Boroughs. In Pennsylvania, understanding the functions of local government can be a challenge. Elected and appointed officials are tasked with budgeting, managing the police department, providing infrastructure repairs, and planning for emergencies, among many other duties. Today's program will explore those functions to provide better insight and comprehension of local government. Now, here's your host and Executive Director of the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs, Chris Kapp.
Welcome to this edition of Inside Pennsylvania Boroughs. Today we have a very special program to offer. As a growing number of baby boomers serving local government approach retirement, the need for talented young people to enter public service becomes crucial. Further, local government can be difficult to understand as there is a limited amount of learning resources on this topic. That's why the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs, Pennsylvania Borough Councils Association, and Crossway Institute produced this program to help youth and others understand the vital role of local government in our daily lives. We all have a major stake in local decision making. I hope this program inspires you to take an active role in your community, as we at the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs believe that strong communities are the fundamental pillars to this great Commonwealth.
Today, we're going to explore the role of local government in your daily life. From the White House to the state capitol to Borough Hall. That's right, Borough Hall. That's where a lot of activity happens in government that you probably don't even know about. But don't worry, you probably aren't alone. Hello, I'm Jen. While some say local government is the form of government that is closest to the people, it's the one form of government people seem to know the least about. Yet it's the one that affects your life on a daily basis. If your parents have ever added an addition to your house, they had to get a permit from Borough Hall. Perhaps you or a sibling is on a baseball team and you play at the local ball field. It's likely that ball field is at a municipal park that is maintained and managed by the local government. When there's a foot of snow outside, it's local government you rely on to clear the street in front of your house so you can get to school. In the spring, it's the local government you rely on to fix the potholes caused by the snow. And you know all that soda or pop that you drink? It's the local government's responsibility to manage programs to recycle those cans. And it's local governments who deploy fire trucks and police to scenes of accidents and fires. You may even see them at high school football games helping to direct traffic. These are just a few examples of the many things that local governments are involved with. Now, I'm sure you know more about state and federal government, and that's because you see and hear about them on the news a lot more than you may with your local government. So let's start in Washington, D.C. The federal government is composed of three branches of government that makes laws, carries out the laws, and evaluates laws. The executive branch is comprised of the president, vice president, and cabinet officials who are appointed by the president. The president is also commander-in-chief of the U.S. Armed Forces. You might be interested to know that if you want to run for president, among other qualifications, a person has to only be 35 years old. The legislative branch is comprised of the U.S. House and U.S. Senate. Each state has 2 U.S. senators. The number of House members is determined by the state's population. Finally, the judicial branch is made up of the Supreme and federal courts. So by now, I'm sure you know who the President of the United States is. How about your congressmen or U.S. senators? Time's up. If you don't know, maybe you can ask a friend or look it up on your phone because we're moving on. A state government is the body that leads the entire state. although no two states have rules that are exactly alike. Each state has its own constitution. However, a state constitution cannot conflict with a national constitution. All state governments are headed up by a governor, directly elected by people like your mothers and fathers. The governor oversees all aspects of state government, and in Pennsylvania, that's for 12 million people. All states also have legislatures that are elected by the people. In Pennsylvania, the House of Representatives has 203 members, and the Senate has 50. Senators must be at least 25 years old, and House members 21. An average district size for a state representative is about 60,000 people, and the average senator represents 250,000 people. So what do members of the legislature do? In general, they are elected to make decisions about public education, collect taxes, run state parks, protect state land and water, maintain state roads, and operate jails. Unlike many other states, these are full-time jobs in Pennsylvania, but local government is much different. From police services to street repairs, local government has a wide range of responsibilities that can also change from day to day. Understanding local government can be complex. Pennsylvania is even more complex because it has the second most local government units in the country. Only Illinois has more, with more than 8,000. There are 6 types of local governments listed in the Pennsylvania Constitution: county, city, township, borough, town, and school district. So let's break this down. All of Pennsylvania is included in one of the state's 67 counties. Most counties are governed by a board of commissioners consisting of 3 people. 2 of these people must be of the majority party, either Republican or Democrat, and the third must be of the minority party. This is determined by who receives the most votes during the election, which is held in November. There are also 500 school districts in Pennsylvania. Some school districts are small, and some are much larger. Each school district has its own group of school board directors who set policies. Then there are 2,561 municipal governments of different sizes and structures just in Pennsylvania. There are a total of 56 cities in Pennsylvania, the smallest being Parker in Armstrong County with a population of 840. There is one first-class city, Philadelphia, which has more than 1 million residents. Pittsburgh and Scranton are the only second-class cities with populations of more than 250,000. There are 53 third-class cities, including Harrisburg and Allentown. Harrisburg also serves as the state capital. Townships are the oldest form of government, dating all the way back to the 17th century. There are 93 townships of the first class and 1,454 townships of the second class. Pennsylvania also has one legally designated town, Bloomsburg, plus villages, which are small communities located within townships, which have no governmental structure. But the form of government we are going to focus on is boroughs. There are 956 boroughs in Pennsylvania, representing 37% of the state's population. Unlike other forms of local government, boroughs are not classified by population. The first borough of record in Pennsylvania was Germantown, which was incorporated in 1684. It is now a part of the city of Philadelphia. Currently, the oldest existing boroughs are Kennett Square in Bucks County, which was incorporated in 1705, and Bristol Borough in Bucks County, incorporated in 1720. I hope you are taking plenty of notes because it's time for a pop quiz. Of course, I'm just kidding, but let's quickly recap. In Pennsylvania, there are 67 counties, 500 school districts, 1 first-class city, 2 second-class cities, 53 third-class cities, 93 townships of the first class, 1,454 townships of the second class, 956 boroughs, and 1 town. These municipalities may also have planning commissions, zoning hearing boards, parks and recreation boards, and other committees too. So how do people become involved in these parts of local government? Municipal elections are held in odd-numbered years. Council members and mayors are elected to 4-year terms. Only half of the governing body is up for election every 2 years. Each borough elects a mayor, and a council of 3, 5, 7, or more members with many powers. But what council members and mayors do is quite different in Pennsylvania compared to other states. Borough council members establish the budget and tax rates for the borough. If you think about it, it's like your mom and dad establishing a budget at home for paying their bills and setting aside money for vacation, and of course your allowance. They hold public meetings to conduct business. They cannot hold their meetings in secret or private. They provide municipal services like fixing streets and parks. They manage and pay bills. They hire and fire employees. They delegate duties to the borough employees. And they ensure that records and minutes are kept. Mayors administer the police department, declare emergencies such as tornadoes, floods, and blizzards. And mayors vote on business if and only if there is a tie, so they can break the tie. Mayors also can, but are not required to, perform marriage ceremonies. There are a few basic qualifications you must meet to serve as a borough council member or mayor. You must be a registered voter. You must be a resident of the borough. Council members must have resided in the borough continuously for at least 1 year before their election. To continue serving, a person must retain residence within the borough. To qualify as a voter, a person must be 18 years of age and a resident of the election district. Local officials are governed by the Pennsylvania State Borough Code. Pennsylvania boroughs have operated under a state code since 1834. In 1851, the General Borough Law, later referred to as the Borough Code, was passed, which defined the duties of the borough officials. Borough officials also must follow a number of other laws, including the Open Records and Sunshine Laws, which require them to advertise their meetings to the public so the public knows their meetings aren't being conducted in private. They are also bound by the Ethics Act to help prevent fraud, bribery, theft, or conflict of interest. The Borough Code only requires one position or job, that of the Borough Secretary. That person is responsible for taking minutes at meetings, certifying ordinances, which are local laws passed by council, and is the keeper of the borough seal and all records. So what do borough officials do? In addition to a secretary, some boroughs also may have a borough manager who has additional tasks, including serving as the treasurer and managing money, and of course other duties as assigned by council. Typical duties of managers and secretaries may also include answering phone calls from constituents about issues such as potholes and burned out streetlights, filing all the required reports that the state government requires, applying for grants to pay for projects, supervising other employees, preparing the budget, processing bill payments, writing newsletters or maintaining the borough's website, administering the borough's ordinances such as for loud noise or snow removal, and so much more. Many boroughs also have police chiefs and police officers, codes enforcement officers, and finance directors, but those positions are not required. Since every borough is different, each borough can decide what is best for it. Borough council members are responsible, directly or indirectly, for the operation of all functions of the borough's government. One of the primary responsibilities of local governments is to provide public safety. Police protection includes patrol services, crime investigation, and traffic control. Do you ever notice police departments patrolling at high school football games? You may also notice them monitoring for speeders inside school zones. Patrol officers stop citizens suspected of illegal activity and investigate or monitor suspicious people, unusual situations, or safety hazards. Not every town has a police department. In that case, the town will either work with the state police or a neighboring municipality. In most communities, it is the local fire department that is the first to respond to emergencies, whether they are small, day-to-day type, or large disasters. Many councils provide financial support to their local fire departments. One of the primary functions of boroughs is the maintenance of streets and roads. The Borough Code requires boroughs to keep the roads and bridges in repair. Borough Council has the power to maintain sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and water drains within the borough. This means cleaning out storm drains after a flood or repairing cracks in the sidewalk. Recreation activities on a local scale are carried out in both large and small municipalities. Playgrounds, swimming pools, camps, stadiums, parks, Senior citizen centers and other facilities are provided according to the need in each community. But paying for maintenance and equipment can be costly. Boroughs also assist with libraries and cultural services for their residents. Boroughs often contribute to the funding of a local public library to ensure their citizens have access to resources including books, magazines, and internet. Building and housing codes dictate the way boroughs exercise their power to regulate construction and maintain the quality of existing structures so they don't become run down. Council members enact local laws that become building codes in an attempt to assure the construction of sound structures to protect their occupants from injury resulting from collapse, fires, or other problems with new construction. Land use planning and regulation are becoming a higher priority for many boroughs too. Comprehensive plans establish a community's goals and objectives for future growth over the next 10 years or more. Zoning divides the community into residential, commercial, industrial, or other uses. Zoning is extremely important. Can you imagine if a mall was built in between homes or in the middle of a neighborhood? Local governments also must budget and levy taxes, and it's never been easy. Through the years, costs have risen, and so have budgets. Here is what costs looked like in 1935. The average cost of a new house was $3,450. Average wages per year were $1,600. A gallon of gas was 10 cents. The cost of a new car, $625. Today, the cost of living is adjusted considerably. The average cost of a new house is $188,000. Average wages per year are $48,000. A gallon of gas is $2.35, and the cost of a new car is $33,560. So all of these services that your borough provides might cost hundreds of dollars per year. Every municipality is different, so it might be more or less. But if you think about it, paying for these services could average just a couple of dollars per day. That's the cost of paying for 2 fast food sandwiches or 2 of your favorite songs downloaded on your favorite app. There are many challenges facing local governments. Local governments are being forced to do more with fewer resources. As the population gets older, there is less tax money being paid, so it's harder to pay for things. And there are services that the borough must provide, and then there are things it may want to provide. Infrastructure is a critical part of your daily life. Yet the infrastructure in your town, the roads and bridges, are getting older. In fact, the average age of a bridge in Pennsylvania is 50 years old. Borough communities are home to some of these aging bridges and roads. Paying for infrastructure maintenance and repair is costly. In 2013, the legislature voted for a $3.8 billion transportation plan to invest in roads and bridges throughout the state. By now, you have probably seen these dollars at work in your community. On the local level, borough officials are actively seeking out ways to maintain infrastructure through grants and other creative partnerships. Infrastructure is a vital part of a community's economic success. Municipalities are also facing technology changes which are very expensive. Years ago, business was conducted with typewriters, pen and paper, and landline phones. Today, boroughs maintain websites, accept bill payment through online credit card processing, and maintain borough records through online records management systems. Yet in some parts of the state, broadband access is very limited, so some borough communities only have access to dial-up service, which can be slow. And with online communication systems in place, local governments are under tremendous pressure to secure critical data, infrastructure, and services. Local governments must also meet an array of regulations. Borough communities will also be faced with implementing regulations and associated risks related to the use of drones. Drones can assist police departments with search and rescue operations and can assist governments with property appraisals, just to name a few examples. One thing for sure is that drones are not a fad. They are the way of the future. Also in the borough's future is the use of GIS to help map communities for zoning purposes or to create an inventory of assets. Some boroughs even use GIS to map its utility poles and trees. And driverless vehicles will soon be navigating Pennsylvania roadways. All of this is costly and must meet government compliance and regulations. What's perhaps the biggest financial challenge for boroughs is planning for the unknown. There can be unplanned expenses that result from natural disasters like sinkholes, floods, and tornadoes that can strike at any time and without warning. Let's face it, as elected and appointed officials in your community, you need to be prepared for a disaster at any time. As the leaders in your borough, your residents will look to you to prevent panic, to implement a plan of communication, and to lead a strategy to rebuild if necessary. You may remember Tropical Storm Lee in 2011, which dumped 7 to 15 inches of rain on much of Pennsylvania. Rivers overflowed their banks, communities flooded, and bridges were washed away. A total of 15 people lost their lives as a result of the flooding, including 7 from Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, over 16,000 homes and businesses received at least minor damage, including over 1,000 homes and businesses that were completely destroyed. Officials have the responsibility of creating emergency operation plans to prepare the borough and protect residents in such instances. What if there is a massive power outage for a week? What do you do with hundreds of displaced homeowners? What if the water system in the borough is contaminated? How many hospitals can your medical facilities hold? What do you do with thousands of visitors who may be in your borough for an event? If a disaster occurs during a winter snowstorm, does the borough have a plan for a salt shortage? And most importantly, is having a plan for rebuilding if a disaster strikes. Getting people back into their homes and getting businesses open is a priority. But what boroughs need to think about now is the future, and that means the public must have a voice in its future. There is often a lack of public engagement. Many boroughs are having a hard time finding people who want to run for office or serve on different committees. And sometimes there are challenges when it comes time to engaging the public on budget decisions or community projects, for example. So boroughs are using various resources to engage citizens. Some boroughs communicate with newsletters to engage and solicit feedback on important borough matters, such as proposed ordinances, construction projects, and street paving projects, in addition to using it as a tool to advertise such things as borough events and street cleaning schedules. Many boroughs also use their website as an interactive tool. They include forms, such as Contact Us, to allow residents to easily email questions to the manager or council. There can also be a variety of sub-options, including how to report a pothole, report a broken street light, or report an anonymous tip to police. These engagement methods will also help them realize the bigger picture come budget time. There are many reasons local government officials want to engage the public, including to inform them about a service or program, gather information or data, develop solutions to community problems, engage residents in long-term planning, and notify them of an emergency and contingency plans. But residents have to take a responsibility to try to stay informed regularly too. Borough council meetings are open to the public and allow for a public comment period. So what can you do to get involved? First, when you turn 18, you should register to vote. When people vote, they learn about concerns and issues in their communities, and they vote for the person they think will represent their views and do the best job. In Pennsylvania, you can now register to vote online at www.votespa.com. Here, you can also find out where to vote, learn about registration deadlines, and view demos on voting systems. Elected officials represent the people, and their goal is to address the needs of the people they represent. But you don't need to wait until you turn 18 to get involved in local government. First, you could consider getting involved in your school's student council or student government association. The student council helps share students' ideas, interests, and concerns with teachers, principals, and school board members. The Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs has also developed a junior councilperson program to engage youth in local government. In that role, you can be active in borough government and have a say in shaping the laws that govern its future. In fact, many council members serving in office began as junior council members in their communities. Whether you live in a city, township, or a borough, you may want to check with your local government and see if they participate in a similar program or would be interested in creating one. After all, today's youth are tomorrow's leaders. What issues are important to you? The Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs, PA Borough Councils Association, and Crossway Institute can provide resources to help engage you in these issues. Visit www.boroughs.org. There are many resources available to help you learn more. You can even watch a webinar on your phone if you want. Mayors, council members, managers, and secretaries attend training often. Training is important because local government regulations are constantly changing. It's also a good opportunity for them to learn more about upcoming issues they will need to tackle, like drones. They know that the power of learning is their best resource. Have you ever pictured yourself as a local government leader? Think about it. In a few years, you could be a council member or mayor in your borough. Now that you understand the role of local government, you can play a vital role in your community. Will you be a part of its future?